Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Kathryn Davies, and I'm a longtime citizen of Calgary. I'm a mom who cares, and I'm also involved with More Neighbours Calgary, a newly formed grassroots pro-housing organization. I am here to offer my enthusiastic support for the housing strategy, which I think is a really incredible, comprehensive suite of policy recommendations that could put Calgary on the map as national leaders in this space. I follow City Council quite closely. I tune in and out of public hearings on land use changes, LAPs, HGO land use districts, transit and budget decisions, and I, like many, will never forget the long and painful death of the Guidebook for Great Communities in 2021. This hearing feels different, though. We are not here to talk about theoretical planning documents or policy technicalities. We are talking about the very real, very present, and very catastrophic individual and societal effects of houselessness and housing insecurity. The decisions made over this weekend will be incredibly consequential and have the power to affect whether or not people have access to a home. I would like to speak briefly to what we all know is the most controversial, really the only controversial piece of these recommendations. I've seen a lot of really hot takes on this notion of blanket upzoning or blanket densification, as though it's some vague, menacing force that is going to seep into our established communities and pollute the air. But the term I prefer is zoning reform, and I use that word reform because it is the correct word for taking something that is bad and making it less bad. Our current zoning system is frankly quite bad. In his book on zoning, Arbitrary Lines, M. Nolan Gray says, regardless of changing prejudices or preferences, our cities and suburbs remain under the shadow of a system of land use regulation carefully calibrated to maintain segregation. Far from merely rationalizing land uses or prudently managing densities, the heart of your local zoning code was more likely than not written with the express intention of separating rich from poor. There is a strong socioeconomic prejudice driving the discourse against zoning reform and against the housing strategy writ large. Our system of zoning is highly exclusionary, and exclusionary zoning is bad. In particular, it is bad for housing affordability. Nearly everyone agrees with this. The experts that formed your own affordability panel recognize this, which is why they recommended what is actually a very modest amount of intensification. Every member of every other housing task force across Canada recognizes this. Affordable housing organizations across the city recognize this. Prominent housing policy experts like Mike Moffat, Carolyn Witzman, Tim Richter recognize this. The federal Conservatives certainly recognize this, and the federal Liberals are starting to come around on the issue, as evidenced by their announcement yesterday. Local and national media seem to recognize this. Prominent local podcasters recognize this. I suspect that even the people who hold up one misinterpreted MIT study as proof that building housing does not make housing more affordable know deep in their hearts that exclusionary zoning, the exclusionary zoning they cling to in the name of neighborhood character is incompatible with affordability. If we want people to be housed, we need houses, and those houses can't all just be built in some other neighborhood. This public hearing feels different because we are finally starting to connect the dots between policies of housing exclusion to people being excluded from homes. There should be no hesitation about zoning reforms. We should be embracing and celebrating zoning reforms for housing affordability, but for myriad other reasons as well. We could get Nathan Horlock back up here to talk more about the infrastructure deficit. We could get Willem to come and talk more about how density is necessary to support a functioning transit system. Do you like going for walks with your kids to the ice cream shop? You can't have local amenities without the population to support them. Please, Council, let's stop dithering, let's stop making excuses, let's stop wasting time on pilot projects and endless cycles of engagement. I know the status quo is very seductive, but this situation is urgent and the solutions are clear. Please act now and approve the strategy in full. Thank you.